Hello everyone. Don't you like my shirt? Ah. Hey everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing the first video in a new series I'm doing on my channel, which is called Hailey's Recommended Reads. So in this series, I'm going to be telling you guys my favorite books in a genre and ones I recommend for you to read. So if you're looking to read something from a certain genre but you don't know what to read, you can watch one of these videos. Yay! So today's genre is historical fiction, which is my second favorite genre, with dystopian being first. I'm a history minor, so when you combine English, which is my major, and history, it's just... So I have 8 books to share with you today. I think it's 8 or 9 maybe, I don't know, I didn't really count. But yeah, so I'm not going to waste any time. Actually, I'm going to waste a little time. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about historical fiction first. Historical fiction is kind of a smaller genre, and I think the reason for that is because it is such a daunting task to take on. When you have to weave fiction through fact, it's just really hard because you have to research the time period you're writing in, or if you're writing about an event, you have to research about that. It just requires a lot of extra research, whereas when you're writing just like a normal book, you just write whatever you want because it's up to you. But when things like actually happened, you have to figure out what happened and see if it works with the story that you're trying to write. So I really commend authors of historical fiction. I don't think I could do it. It's too much for me. I think I would get way too stressed. So I really commend people who write it, and especially when they do a good job. That being said, I'm not an expert in history, so there could be some historical inaccuracies in some of the books that I read or I'm recommending, but I don't really notice them. So I just really enjoy them for the story and the historical aspects that I do think are correct. So yeah, I was going to wait to film this video because there are a few historical fictions that I'm still planning on reading, but I decided that I'm going to do a separate video and tell you the historical fictions that I want to read. So I'm going to do that for every genre, and then I'm going to update this video every 6 months or maybe a year depending. So yeah, let's not waste any more time and start with the books. Oh, I'm sorry if the lighting is shadowy. It's like 9 o'clock at night. It's the sun is in the process of setting. It's getting there. He's getting there. He's going down. I'm getting timber. So the first book I have to recommend to you today is actually the first book in a series, and that is The Lux by Anna Godberson. So there are 4 books in this series. The second book is Rumors, the third book is Envy, and the fourth book is Splendor. So I have not yet read past this first book here, but I do plan on doing so very soon. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. In my opinion, this is a great read for people who are just starting out reading historical fiction because it doesn't really focus on the history aspect of it so much. So this book takes place in 1899 in Manhattan, and it follows the lives of some of the top socialites in New York. So first we have the Holland family, which consists of Diana and Elizabeth. Their family has been at the top of kind of the social standings for a very long time, and before this book starts, their father dies and he ends up leaving them in a financial crisis. They're in lots of debt, so in this book, they are trying to kind of conceal that and still live the life that they are accustomed to. So Diana is the youngest Holland, and she is very whimsical. She was my favorite character. She loves reading, and she wants to just live this great romance, like in the books that she reads. She just wants adventure, and she does not like conforming to the ladylike ideals of the society that she lives in. And it is for that reason that her mother depends on Elizabeth, her older sister, to uphold the family name. Elizabeth is the prim and proper definition of what a lady should be. And Elizabeth's best friend is Penelope Hayes. Penelope Hayes is part of a family that is newer to the New York social scene. And Penelope is kind of the bitch of the story. She's the one who wants to get what she wants. She doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. It's all about her. And it is for that reason a lot of people don't like her, and I didn't either. She's kind of the villain. So the story is told in alternating perspectives throughout the chapters. So each chapter is a different perspective. So you get like Diana's, Penelope's, and then there's also a couple of high like social class male characters. So you have Teddy Cutting, and there's also Henry Schoonmaker, who is kind of the heartthrob of it all. Everyone wants to be with him. He's just this great like But then you also have the perspectives of a maid. I can't remember her name, but you get her perspective as well, so you kind of get all of the social classes in there. I think part of the reason why I like this book so much is the fact that it is told in so many different perspectives. I think when you are trying to have your readers understand a time period, and that's a vital part of the story, it's really important for there to be many different viewpoints expressed, so then you can better understand the time period. So overall, like I said, loved this book. Definitely recommend it, especially if you're just starting with historical fiction. This next book that I'm going to show you puts a little bit of a twist on historical fiction, and that is Ruby Red by Kirsten Geert. This is the first book in the Precious Gemstones trilogy. I also have the second one here, Sapphire Blue, but I haven't read this one yet. I'm waiting for the third one to come out in paperback, which is coming out beginning of October, and that one is called Emerald Green. So I didn't know, but these books are actually originally written in German, which is pretty interesting, and they tell the story of Gwen, who lives in London in like modern day, but she is part of a family of time travelers. It's not all of them that time travel, but there's a gene, and she wasn't supposed to get it, but she ended up getting it, so she starts traveling back in time to different time periods in London. So you get to see a modern day girl experience a completely different world, which is really interesting. And I think Gwen is such a lovable character that she really just makes this book. Not that it wouldn't be like good without her, but it definitely wouldn't be 5 stars. I love her. She's just quirky. There's just something about her that she's just such a lovable protagonist, and it just made me want to keep on reading. So she finds out she has this time travel gene unexpectedly, and she starts taking trips back in time and adventures and travels through time with, what's his name, Gideon? With Gideon, who is her time traveling companion. So it's a story about her adventures back in time, and I think it's so interesting because she's a modern day girl who is experiencing a completely different world. So that's why I think I like it so much. The next book I'm going to show you guys, I actually have the review uploading for it right now, and that is Prisoner of Night and Fog by Anne Blankman. So I just finished this book a couple of days ago, and like I said, I have a review on it. So if you want to hear more in-depth and spoiler-free opinions, then I will link it down below, and also right here. That's the link. So right when I heard about this book, I wanted to pick it up, and I'm so glad I did. This is a new favorite for me. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it's actually the first in what is going to be a series. I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy, but I know there is another one coming out soon, so yay! So this book tells the story of Gretchen Mueller, who is Hitler's niece and his absolute little sweetheart. He loves her, especially after her father sacrifices himself at the beer hall putsch. I didn't say that right. Don't worry about it. In 1923. So her father becomes a martyr, and she just becomes this beloved kind of ideal picture of the Nazi girl. So mostly this book is described as Hitler's niece falls in love with a Jewish reporter, and I think that doesn't even do it justice. This book is much more than that. You'll find out more in my review if you watch it. But it's more about her discovering the truth about her father and how he died, and also the truth about like her life and her beliefs and like the whole Hitler and the Nazis. She just is kind of discovering herself. It's really a book about self-discovery and kind of the strength of Gretchen. But of course there is still the love aspect to it. I just don't think that is the main part of the story. I think it's mostly a story about discovery. So like I said, loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. If you like World War II historical fiction, this is definitely an awesome book for you. The next book I'm going to show you guys is one of my absolute favorite books, and that is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. So I don't think I can even do this book justice by describing it, but the first thing you need to know is that the story is told from the perspective of death, and that throws people off a lot. I find a lot of people that I've recommended this to who read it, they find that they have a hard time just because they didn't think it was written from death's perspective. So I make sure to tell people that it's written from death's perspective, and then they find it a lot easier. So if you just remember that, it's an amazing read. And I think it was such a good idea of Marcus Zusak to have it written from death's perspective in a time where death is just so, like, it's just every. So this story takes place in Germany at the time of World War II, and it follows the story of Liesel, who is living with a foster family, and she steals books. She started stealing books after her brother died. She found a book at his gravesite, and she stole that one, and then she just fell in love with the words, and I think she likes to escape. And I think she liked to escape from the terrors of the world that she was living in through these books. She just finds out about words, and she wants to learn all the words that she can. And it's just really a story about a girl who loves books, who is just living in a very difficult time, and also a story about she finds out all that is wrong in the world. Her foster family is actually harboring a Jew in their basement, and she's living in a really dangerous time, and I think she uses the books that she steals to kind of cope with that, and it's just a really interesting story. Like I said, I don't know how to describe it. If I were going to recommend one historical fiction to you, this would be it. It's an amazing book. Just read it. The next book I'm going to recommend to you guys is actually an adult fiction, and that is Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. So this is the first book in the Century trilogy, which features Winter of Worlds is next. I think that's what it's called. I have it. So this book is the first book in the Century trilogy. This book centers around World War I, and then the second one, Winter of Worlds, I think is what it's called, centers around World War II. I have it, I just don't know where. And then the third one, I don't know when it's going to center around, but it's called Edge of Eternity, and it's coming out this year. So this is a freaking big book. Like, I could kill someone with this. Like, it's 980 pages, and I can't believe I've read it all. I can't. What happened, I wouldn't usually pick up this book, if I'm going to be entirely honest. I don't really like reading big books. They really intimidate me. But someone recommended it to me, and then they gave it to me, so then I had to read it. So I did, and I loved it. This is one of my favorites. I usually find World War I a little bit boring, if I'm going to be honest. Like, not boring, but it's not my favorite war to learn about. That would be World War II, but it's just, there are so many aspects, so many countries, and I find it difficult to follow along with World War I usually, but this book just is so good. So two things I absolutely love about this book. One, it starts in like 1911 and it ends in 1924. So you get the like leading up to World War I, and then you get like the whole of World War I, and then you get kind of what happens like after, which I think is just so good, because then you find out like everything. You can understand fully everything about World War I. Like, even if you're studying World War I, like whether in high school or like whatever, this is a good book to read. Because my second favorite thing about this book is the fact that you get so many different perspectives. There are a lot of aspects in World War I, like I said. There are a lot of countries involved, and in this book there are Russians, so you find out about the revolution in Russia. There are Germans, there are Americans, there are English people, and you have like maids, you have like there's an earl, you have people in politics, you have you also have women, so you find out more about the suffrage movement. There is just everything that could have possibly been in this book is in this book. So good. Ken Follett writes a lot of historical fiction. I know he also has Pillars of the Earth and a few other ones, but I haven't read them. This is the only one I've read, but I definitely am going to read more. I do plan on finishing this trilogy at some point. The books don't get any smaller, but you get to follow the same characters after World War I, which I think is really interesting. It's just so good. I can't recommend it enough. If you're looking for an adult historical fiction, I would say read this one. And if you're looking for World War I, read this one. It is just so good. I like didn't think I would want to read it, but I found myself reading like 200 to 300 pages at a time. I think I finished this in a week. It's 900 pages and I finished it in a week. So good. And the final 2 books I'm going to recommend to you are actually graphic novels, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. It's Mouse Volume 1 and 2 by Art Spiegelman, and these aren't technically historical fictions. It's actually the story of Art Spiegelman asking his father to tell the story. So like part of it is the actual story that his father is telling him, and the other part of it is like Art Spiegelman like actually asking his father what happened to him. So these are kind of actually non-fiction, but I still wanted to mention them in here. So if you don't already know, in these novels the mice are Jews and the cats are Nazis, which I think is just such an interesting concept. And yeah, you just get to find out about the story of Art Spiegelman's father and what happened to him during the time when Nazis were trying to hunt Jews, which I really like. If you've noticed, 3 of these books have been about like Jews' struggles during like World War II, because that's something that really interests me. I don't know why. And this book isn't a fiction either, but I also thought I would mention it because it's also one of my favorites, and that is Night by Elie Wiesel. This book is about Elie Wiesel. The actual author is telling his story of his struggles in Auschwitz, the concentration camp. It's a really intense read because like it's all true. It's all stuff that actually happened, and it's kind of a really difficult book to get through, but it is also still an amazing story to hear. So that is all for my recommended reads for historical fiction. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys decide to pick up some of these. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these, your thoughts on them, if you're going to read any of them, or let me know your favorite historical fictions, or let me know anything you recommend me to read as far as historical fiction or really anything else. And let me know what genre you want me to do next, and I'll do it for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! This must be love.